Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spirit of Prophecy podcast. Appreciate you joining me today as we discuss the subject of October 31st, Halloween, All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, Reformation Day. There's a lot of different things that are associated with October 31st. It's this time of year that many people in America and other countries, they dress up, they go trick-or-treating, have all their weird Halloween parties and things, but it's also a time when Christians take the time to go on social media and fight with each other about whether or not we should have any participation in Halloween or not. And that's always a fun thing to observe. And I, for sure, have my opinions when it comes to this. And I do want to weigh in on it. And I do want to share my thoughts because while I personally have no desire to participate in anything associated with Halloween, I have many reasons for that. I will say that often the accusations that I hear from other people who I guess would be on my side and not wanting to celebrate Halloween, they often say things that aren't completely true. And there's a lot of sensationalism that goes on this time of year. And I personally find that very off-putting. And so what I want to do, I do want to talk about the subject, some of the things people say, but then I do want to share some biblical facts with you that I think are very important. Because when it comes to October 31st, is there anything about this day that is special? Is there anything that gives it more satanic power than any other day of the year? And is this a day where we need to be careful? Is it something that we should just completely avoid, or is it something it's okay if we take it, we Christianize it because, hey, this is a day which the Lord hath made, we will rejoice and be glad in it? What are we supposed to do when it comes to this subject? But before we give some thoughts and some Bible on that, let's go ahead and look at what Wikipedia says about Halloween. It is a celebration observed in many countries on October 31st, the eve of Western Christian feasts of All Hallows Day. It is at the beginning of the observance of All Hallowhide, the time in the Christian liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all the faithful departed. In popular culture, Halloween has become a celebration of horror and is associated with the macabre and the supernatural. One theory holds that many Halloween traditions were influenced by Celtic harvest festivals, including the Gaelic festival Samhain, which are believed to have pagan roots. Some theories go further and suggest that Samhain may have been Christianized as All Hallows Day, along with its eve, by the early church. Other academics say Halloween began independently as a Christian holiday, beginning the vigil of All Hallows Day. Celebrated in Ireland and Scotland for centuries, Irish and Scottish immigrants brought many Halloween customs to North America in the 19th century, and then through American influence, various Halloween customs spread to other countries by the late 20th and early 21st century. So when it comes to this subject of Halloween, when it comes to the traditions associated with it, there's probably a great variety of opinions about the history of it, what it looked like at one time, what it looks like today. Now, there is no doubt what it looks like today. Today, it is associated with all things creepy, weird, scary, spooky. Generally speaking, while I'm sure there's a wonderful person out there somewhere having a wholesome Halloween party where they dress up like Bible characters and tell Bible stories and do things that are wholesome and fun. As a whole, there is no doubt about the fact that this day and Halloween is associated with all that is weird, evil, grotesque. Just look at the decorations. Look at the vast difference in way things look around Halloween at people's houses and Christmas. It's all light, bright, beautiful, all that stuff. So just kind of an interesting thing there. But when it comes to the history, people like to argue about the history, talk about what they were originally doing. You've got all the chick publication stories that are out there. And I'm not here today to debunk or verify any of those stories. I have no idea when it comes to those things. I wasn't there. I've read the historical accounts. Some of them make sense. There is a debate about whether or not this was something that the pagans originally had and then was Christianized with the All Saints Day. But then there are those who say, no, the early church started it, and then the pagans hijacked it and did their own thing with it. Problem with that, it sounds like it came in the 4th century around the same time as the Catholic Church. And everybody thinks that the Catholics just took a lot of their pagan practices, pagan gods and things, and then changed the names to Christian names. And so therefore it proves ultimately it has pagan origins. And so, you can argue back and forth about that all day long. To me, that's irrelevant. To me, this is the important thing, and this is what I want to talk about, and that is, how do you regard the day? What does that day mean to you? Now, because of the fact that I am an American and I am surrounded by American culture, I have a hard time when I think about Halloween not thinking about all that which is creepy, spooky, evil, and scary. I can't help that. I do not think about the saints of old who have gone on before us on November 1st or October 31st. That's not something we've ever practiced or celebrated as Baptists, and I am not surrounded by that influence in my day-to-day life. So when I think about Halloween, I don't think of that which is pure and wholesome and lovely and all those things that are of good report. I don't think about those things. I think of the creepy, the scary, the spooky. And so, but at the same time, that's me. Not everybody might feel the same way about that day. For some people, they might see it as having great power. They might see it as being the day where they're most likely to be possessed or something like that. That's what it is to them. And let me just say that when it comes to a day, I don't believe a day has any significant power unless you give it that power. And in 1 Corinthians 8, verse 1, it says, "Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we have all knowledge," or that we all have knowledge. "Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know. But if any man love God, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things which are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there are none other God but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit, there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled." So what do you get from that? Here's what I get from that passage right there, that one day does not differ from another as far as God's concerned. There's not a difference in the days. There's not a day when the power of God is stronger than another day. There's not a day where the devil has more power than any other day. However, within us, if we regard things a certain way, it can have an effect. And so if you are somebody who believes in the God, Sam Hain, even though he's not a God, he's not real. If you believe it has some kind of power, it may have power over you. It may have influence over you because it's more likely to get you focused and thinking about all things that are dark and evil and all that kind of stuff. So yes, for you, it might have some kind of power over you because that's how you regard the day. You regard it, you're that evil Satanist. And I'm not wearing a black shirt today, in honor of Halloween. It just kind of happened. But, you regard these things as having some kind of power. You feel like dressing up as some kind of thing will somehow get you closer with the spirit world. And you know what? Because of that, it might, because it's not about anything. It's not about the alignment of the stars, where our planet is right now in relation to the sun or any of those things. It's about what's in your heart and how you regard it. And so understand, for example, an idol has no power with me because I am fully aware of the fact it is nothing. It's just a hunk of stone, a hunk of wood. It has no power. But not everybody has that knowledge. There are people who have been deceived. And in America today, I don't think most people think idols have any kind of power. I know there's some. A lot of Catholics probably do. But again, I'm not going to give a statue any kind of power, and I'm not going to give a day any kind of power over me. To me, I regard October 31st as another day in the calendar year. And so to me, October 31st is nothing. And so when I see people too who are like, well, you know what? We're going to regard this day to the Lord, and we're going to celebrate the Reformation. Well, I have no interest in celebrating the Reformation because I don't feel like I have any connection to the Catholic Church. So I'm not interested in that. I don't see anywhere in the scriptures where we, have a day celebrating the saints of old and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I have no problem. I don't think it's wrong to remember those who have gone on before us or anything like that. But as far as how somebody celebrates that, I don't even know how that's observed amongst the Catholics. I have no problem with taking time to remember certain things. I don't have a problem with Veterans Day. I don't have a problem with Memorial Day. And so I don't really have a problem with somebody, having a time of year where we remember the saints of old. And so I'll say for myself, because I associate it with the Catholics, I personally associate it with the Catholics, I don't want to participate in it. And so even though I will participate in Memorial Day, Veterans Day to a certain extent, because I am an American. And I don't think that's unbiblical to, think positively about your country and to celebrate something your country is celebrating that isn't sinful. I don't think it's wrong in doing that. But, other people might have different opinions when it comes to that. So again, I don't see Halloween as anything. We see in Romans 14:5 says, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day, regardeth it unto the Lord. And he that regardeth not the day to the Lord, doth not regard it. And he that eateth, eateth to the Lord, for he giveth God thanks. And he that eateth not to the Lord, eateth not, and giveth God thanks. So again, it's all about how you regard it. Now, this is why I'm careful about just going around and condemning everybody on Halloween who participate in certain things. For one, I can understand. I was a kid one time too. I understand kids want to dress up and get candy. I mean, what kid doesn't enjoy dressing up like a superhero, a girl's a princess, something like that, and going and getting candy? Of course, any child is going to be excited about something like that. I get that. I don't think they have any evil intent. I don't think most of them are thinking about the devil. I don't think they're regarding the day to the devil. I think kids just like dressing up. Now, when adults are still doing it, it's like, come on, really? We still like playing dress up. Now, I'm not going to lie. I still like candy. But at the same time, it would feel very degrading to me to go trick-or-treating to get candy. If I want candy, I'll go to the store and get some. Kids, we're always trying to limit these things, and Halloween's often the time of year when parents seem to take those limits off. So I get why kids are excited about it. So I'm not going to go around accusing kids of, worshiping Satan if they are participating in Halloween. Okay. And so, and then you have Christians that are trying to Christianize it. They'll have their trunk or treat where they'll do their Bible themes and all that kind of stuff. And again, if they truly are regarding it to the Lord, then I don't really think I'm supposed to judge in that situation. Now, if I do judge, I'm not saying I am, but if I were to judge, and if I were to have thoughts go through my mind, which they do, I'm probably going to be thinking, these people are just conforming to the world. They just, they don't want to be left out of anything. It's a compromise. I might think those things. But at the same time, I can't for sure say what is in the minds of people. And so for myself, I choose not to participate in it. because to many people, it is a very evil thing. To many people, they do regard it as something pagan. They do regard it as having some kind of power. They do see trick-or-treating as participating in some kind of ancient Celtic satanic witchcraft or something like that. And I have no interest in offending those people for something that to me is not important. To me is no big deal. And so I choose to not participate. I don't do anything like that. And that's one of the main reasons, because I know that I'm just going to be offending a lot of people, and I don't want to do that. It's not something that is important to me. Not everybody has the same knowledge that I do when it comes to these things. And so how one is in their heart, how they think about these things in their heart, those kind of things do matter. And because other people see it differently, I don't want to do things with offense. So that's my main reason for not participating in it too. You say, well, your kids are missing out. Your kids are going to resent you for it. Well, I kind of doubt it. I mean, I was raised the same way, and I didn't resent my dad for it. But I do think it's very important that we teach something called separation. We don't have to do everything the world does. We don't have to take everything that the world does and then try to put a Christian spin on it, anything like that. I personally think when we try doing that kind of thing, it is just a way of conforming. It is a way of just kind of compromising, because I think a lot of pastors do that, in my opinion, because their church members are pretty carnal and worldly, and they're trying to appease these people. But maybe some of them too are doing their Christianized version because their church members are carnal, worldly, and they're thinking, hey, let's give them something a little better and more wholesome to celebrate. Again, I would disagree with that. But again, I can't speak for everybody. I can't think for everybody when it comes to these things. But I do think it's wrong to just go accusing everybody of doing satanic stuff if they have some kind of participation in Halloween. For many, it is just a fun day where people dress up. Not everybody does the gory stuff. Not everybody does, all that is creepy and things like that. But at the same time, we do have to acknowledge a vast majority of that which is associated with the American style of Halloween is evil, and glorifying the dead, and glorifying all that is weird, perverted, all that. Halloween is like the one time of year too. It's always been kind of the favorite holiday for the alphabet people too. And I personally think it's because Halloween is like the one day a year where you can truly express yourself and you're less likely to be judged. There's a lot of cross-dressing that goes on during Halloween. There's just a lot of debauchery, depravity, and things like that. And so for me, I don't think it's unreasonable, as the leader of my family, as leader in our church, to say, we're not doing anything associated with this. We're not going to do anything that resembles, Halloween, trick or treat, all that kind of stuff, because there is without a doubt a lot of evil associated with it. So those are my thoughts on it. And so this Halloween, if you see it as evil, stay away from it. If you say it as nothing, then I would caution you to not go doing things with offense. I think you should be sensitive to the fact that many people have some pretty legitimate reasons for being freaked out on October 31st. Some people are so hardcore against this day, they don't leave the house on October 31st. They're not even going to let their kid eat Halloween candy that has a pumpkin on it or something like that. I think that's over the top. But, at the end of the day, if that's how they regard these things, then they would be sinning in participating in these things. And so we don't want to offend on either side. And so that's my thoughts on this. I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope you will have a happy October 31st. And God bless y'all. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.